The 49ers have what feels to be a bit of a rivalry game against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, and probably the longest Hoomst revenge game. Is it? We're out here clutching glizzies. New Sprint Right Option podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. Oh man, it's a new episode of the Sprint Right Option podcast. I'm Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by the beautiful Jason Aponte. Jason, how are you doing on this lovely Friday night, Friday evening?
I knew I shouldn't have put you onto that Metro Boomin album, man. I mean, people saying clutching glizzies and they're just automatically thinking hot dogs. I believe it's a 21 Savage line from that, and he's talking about something else.
I listen, man. A lot of people were talking about Metro Boomin. I didn't know who Metro Boomin was before last night. I knew who he was based off the tag you told me. I didn't know that was his name. But I listened to, I believe, the song's Umbrella, and I just heard us talking about clutching glizzies, and I'm like, wow, I love this music. I love this music so much.
Andrew,
it's a good album, very good album.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Does Young Metro trust you?
I would hope so.
Because you know what the rest of that tag is. I mean, it's a family-friendly show, so we don't have to get into it. So I would lean that he does trust you, and I hope he does trust you.
I hope he does too. Jason, I trust you as a Yankee fan. Any like Mets related news you wanted to dunk on the Mets first, second? No, you don't want to dive into it.
It's just the Mets. It's all right.
Nobody cares. I mean, not even Jacob deGrom cares about the Mets because he's going to the Rangers.
Good for him, man. Look at him cashing checks in Texas. And no, it's this is the most fun part of MLB right now, the free agency portion. Yeah. You see rosters change, and the Rangers had spent a bunch of money upgrading their offense. They got themselves a very good pitcher, just 34 years old. I didn't even realize that he was 34 years old. It almost still feels like he's like a 20-something-year-old.
Well, the one that scared me, because like obviously this is the one you and I are talking about a bit, is Judge. I didn't realize before like August that Judge was in his 30s. Like that's like baseball players are old. Like I feel like now that I'm in my 30s, it's like, ooh, like these players aren't young anymore. Like I'm not young, so therefore like the players aren't young. Yeah, and you say free agency is the best part, but I think both of our free agencies as Giants and Yankees fans kind of hinge on one guy. And see how fun of a time it is for either Giants or Yankees fans, depending on that decision.
Trust me, Bonsa and Shasky, when I was on the Morning Roast, were not shy about getting my thoughts on it and kind of rubbing it in a bit that, like this has come down to this 2-team race. But hey, is what it is. I don't think anybody's here to hear us talk baseball. We're going to get yelled at in our YouTube comments.
Oh, is this not I thought this was our baseball podcast today.
Oh, it's our hip hop podcast. You want to talk about Metro Boomin? I'm wearing a Wu-Tang sweater, so we're going to talk about hip hop this entire time.
Beautiful, Metro Boomin, very good album. No, we are here to talk about the 49ers and the Miami Dolphins, a game that talk a bit about the performance of Ruben Neves in the group stage. I love that question, Jordan. Portugal through. Korea through. 4 of Wolves' 5 World Cup representatives are through to the round of 16. Raul Jimenez, the only. He's kind of mid, but we're not here to talk about Wolves.
I have no idea what's going on with the World Cup. I just hope that everybody who is watching is having a lot of fun. So
10 a.m. tomorrow, your time, United States versus Netherlands, Jason.
I will be asleep.
You'll be asleep at 10 in the morning?
Yes, I try to on Saturday. I have a daughter. And this young lady is up all hours of the night at times. She'll wake up at 3 a.m. You lose broken sleep. 10 o'clock, she'll be on the iPad laying next to me watching something while I will be asleep. I promise you I will not be watching the World Cup. But kudos to everybody who will be. And I guess go America. I mean, whatever. We got some good memes out of it.
Yeah, I'll be waking up at 7 East Coast time, and a little nicer for the World Cup. I might be up at 7 watching U.S. Netherlands, even though I don't care for either team. But that's okay, Jason. We're here to talk Niners Dolphins. A game that a little chippy. The way I'm comparing it is this feels like a wrestling rivalry where it feels like Mostert and Wilson said some things and Debo said some things back.
Are they the NWO?
But then they're secretly texting in their little group chat like, oh my God, the fans think this is real. We're having a good time with it. Like that's the vibe I get between the two teams. Like that's my take on it.
So, on Brad and I, our Wednesday show, we talked about Tevin Coleman being stone cold and the glass breaking and him being the running back. Like, they're like, by God, it's Coleman's music. So, like, is Mostert and Wilson gonna walk in like,
I feel like Mike McDaniel would be very okay with that too. Like, I don't know what happened, but my TikTok has just turned into Mike McDaniel mic'd up videos. Like, my For You page is just those videos, and I watch them every time. I love that man, and I feel like he would be 100% okay with like, yeah, man, we're gonna enter a road game with the NWO theme, like get the guitar riff going, all that fun stuff. But yeah, to me, it feels like a wrestling rivalry because I feel like the former Niners on the team, and we'll get into that long list of former Niners on the Dolphins. I feel like they're just all texting each other like, yeah, the fans are eating this up. We're still friends. Like, after the game, they're going to go shake hands and talk for 10
and before
minutes
the game, they're going to hug.
And before games, and all these fans are like, nah, man, why'd Jeff Wilson say that about Jimmy Garoppolo? And they're just all having a good time. It's going to be a fun game. It definitely makes the game more fun. And I think what makes it more fun as well is it's a 7-4 against an 8-3 team. It's a very good football game as well.
I think I'm more excited about this game because, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew Pasquini, this will be your first time in Levi Stadium.
Yeah, the closest I'll ever get to Levi Stadium without Jason Aponte with me, because the 2 times we went were the closest I've been to being inside that building. Yes, my history with going to Niner games, I've been to one. I've been to as many XFL games in my lifetime as NFL games. I went to a San Francisco Demons game way back when in 2001, like the OG XFL. But the one Niner game I went to was Niners Colts. The final score is 27-3. Joe Nedney made a field goal. That was the Niners highlight. It was also Alex Smith's first career start, and Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison had a chance to break Steve Young and Jerry Rice's record for most combined touchdown reception. So it's been a long time since I've seen the Niners in person. Gunzy, thank you for the donation. Rooting for McDaniels because he's fan, but I'm already sick of people saying he's definitely better than Shanny after literally half a season. Kyle and the Niners, I'm sure, is tired of it too. They about to cook. I like that. I like the thought.
Yeah, so thank you for the donation, first of all. But yes, this week, I guess we'll start here and, to like really dive into this game. This week is a big game for the I don't like Kyle Shanahan crowd. This is a big week for them.
Yes.
They need this game to go Miami's way to further the narrative that they believe that Mike McDaniel was the secret sauce in this offense. You look at the numbers that they've been putting up. You look at the numbers the Niners have been putting up. And you know what? If you didn't watch a football game and you drop someone in here who was never watching football and just looked at the stats, and they looked at those and they said, well, that offense is better than that one, and that guy must be better than that guy. Big week for Kyle Shanahan haters. I will tell you this. My petty hand is shaking a little. And if the 49ers do exactly what I think they're going to do in this game and walk away with a win, no one will be spared, I think, at this point. No, I not saying that I have bookmarks, not saying that I've taken names and lists, but you better hope this game goes the way that you do for all the things that you said about Kyle Shanahan, man, because it is not going to go your way if the 49ers do what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, it's just so weird how this really feels like it's a Twitter-driven rivalry.
Yep.
And I feel like the Niner fans don't like the Dolphins fans. Like I guess it all started with like Dolphins fans saying that McDaniels is the offensive mind or the genius in the Niners system, and it's just kind of bloomed from there. I think we should not value just random people's opinions who have Dolphin logos as their avatar on Twitter and take it that deeply. But hey, here we are. We're in December. It's added to this game. I just, my thing is like, obviously the Niners and Dolphins, they're like, Mike McDaniel isn't shy of talking about how much he likes Kyle Shanahan. He isn't shy of talking about how much he enjoyed his time with the team. Like, this is a rivalry between two teams that I don't even think of each other that way. It's just has literally been Twitter driven.
49ers fans travel very well.
Yes.
To games. Miami Dolphins fans travel even better on Twitter. Oh my goodness. I was looking around through the arguments. I have not engaged in a single debate with any Dolphins fan. Not one.
Touching.
Not one. I'm blocked by many Dolphins fans. Many. I seriously mean that. Many. Like, I looked on their thing and it says blocked. And what did I do? What did I do? But the Dolphins fans are talking crazy. They're in the spaces. They're saying that Mike McDaniel called the plays. They're saying that their weapons, outside of running back are better. It's funny how Christian McCaffrey comes over and Jeff Wilson gets sent over. So that kind of lets you know who the 49ers value more. This is a weird game that, like, I think to Andrew's point, is like Twitter driven. Like,
it absolutely
it really is. And also, don't discount this. And I want to say this, and we'll move on. Thank you again for the donation, buddy. That was very, very generous. This is a game that, don't get it twisted, Kyle Shanahan circled.
Oh yeah.
On this game, on his schedule, right? He wants to beat his proteges, his understudies, McVay, LaFleur, now McDaniel. So while this is another game, Andrew, it's not a must win.
Yes.
It'd be a very cool if you did win game, though. And here's where we are again with the Kansas City Chiefs game, the same sort of thing. I think a lot of what needs to be shown here is for the people who are skeptical about the 49ers' chances in the NFC, meaning I need you to do it against somebody that doesn't stink like the Rams or the Cardinals. Like in that way, right? Like, you need to see it against someone that's a little bit different. And still, the Chargers game is kind of cool. But again, no Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams. So you can still throw that out there as a narrative. The 49ers' best win this year still remains the Seattle Seahawks at this point in week 2. So, yeah, this isn't a must win, but it'd be a very cool if you did win game. And I think that's kind of what the other narratives, like, we had no shortage of storylines coming into this before Raheem Mostert decided and Jeff Wilson decided to go and do an interview. Jeff Wilson was like, why am I in it? I didn't even do nothing. Like, so yeah, it's a funny thing how narratives that are driven through social media. And also, I do want to say, you bet your ass Kyle Shanahan had this game circled. Like, I will not let him beat me.
So for Niners Nation, you mentioned the Niners not having a ton of great games or great teams on their schedule. There we go. That's the right word I was looking for. I started a new series. It's a behind the numbers sort of thing. I like looking at numbers. I like finding pointless numbers and finding a point to them. The Niners entering Sunday have played 3 games against teams above 500 entering week 13. That obviously changes because before last week, the Niners had played 2 teams in a playoff spot, the Chiefs and the Seahawks. And now this week, it's 1 team because the Seahawks are out of a playoff spot. So entering the week, the Niners have only played 3 games against teams over 500. Sunday will be 4 against the Dolphins. And just to compare between the Niners and the Dolphins, Sunday is going to be the 7th game for the Dolphins against teams over 500. They've played in 6. They're 3-3 in those games. The Niners, they do have a higher win percentage. The Niners are 2-1 in those games with the win against the Chargers and the win against the Seahawks. So this is definitely outside of the Chiefs, because like the Chiefs exist. And as much as I want to say like, oh no, the Chiefs, like their time is past. The Chiefs are the Chiefs until they're not. This is the Niners' toughest test of the challenge, our toughest test of the season, not named the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't think it's remotely close, not just because of how good the Dolphins are, but because of the little side fun things going on that I don't think the teams necessarily care about, but the fan base does care about, which is important because I think fan bases add value to games. I think part of the reason like these big college football rivalries are so important is because of the fans. And so I don't know, maybe the Niners Dolphins will be a rivalry we're talking about in 15 years because of this game. I don't know, right. But this is really the Niners, one of their very few chances against a pretty good team. The Niners have caught a break with their schedule, and that's nothing wrong with that. The Niners don't control who they play every season. This was an NFL schedule. Niners catching a break. We'll see what they actually look like on Sunday against a very good Dolphins team. And
I think fans are the reason that our shows get so many views, mm-hmm. and you know, so again, this is no knock any way, one way or the other, right? Again, let's just like get down to like what this actually means for both teams. Mm-hmm. The Dolphins won a game against the Baltimore Ravens in which they were losing by 21 points in the fourth quarter. How much of that is, oh my God, the Dolphins are very good, or the Ravens, who have held double-digit leads in all but
historically bad fourth quarter team?
The 2 games, I believe, are the ones that are the only games that the Ravens haven't held a double-digit lead in. So, okay, that's a very good win because you're down 21 in the second half and you find a way to win the game. How much of that is going to go away when everybody talks about the Kansas City game, right? And I would say that's the outlier. That's the game you throw out because of injuries, because of the fact that the 49ers just didn't play a very good game.
The Chiefs game was the game to throw away the second it finished. Like, not even hindsight. The second that game finished, like, okay, well, forget that one. Stinks, but it happened.
Right. And it's like, not to take anything away from the Chiefs because they are very explosive on offense, and that's what will happen to you. But the 49ers played a poor game. They left guys wide open. They blew assignments. They didn't execute on certain drives. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Yes.
And again, this game is going to be largely driven based on the fan bases, the coaching history, the players returning, now the comments that are coming out of it. So for me, it just feels like right now, this game is a game that the 49ers, I feel like we say this every single week, Andrew. Play your game and nobody can beat you.
Yeah, that's how good the Niners are. That's how good they are. Absolutely how good they are. And Jason, you mentioned the Dolphins and that Ravens game. I got a stat that actually kind of started my behind the numbers article. I looked it up because I was curious. And because in my mind, right, if you look at the Dolphins and what they've done on offense, right, and all the weapons they have, and we'll talk specifically about who they are, and then you talk about the DeMeco Ryans 4 consecutive games, no points in the second half, and you instantly think like, okay, well, it might be a little unrealistic to say, hey, that streak's going to continue against such a good offense in the Dolphins. Did you know in 7 of the Dolphins' 11 games this season, they've gone scoreless in the fourth quarter?
You know what's funny, Andrew Pasquini?
What?
You are electric for finding that stat.
Thank you.
And it's so funny how the Kyle haters, if that was Kyle that had that stat, dear God. There's context that needs to be in there.
Well,
right?
there is, and I'll add it really quick.
Go for it.
Like last week, the Dolphins,
the game was over.
They didn't need to score a point in the fourth quarter. They're up 30-0. However, I want to look at 2 games, 2 of their losses, actually. The Dolphins didn't score a point in the fourth quarter, and that was the Bengals, and I believe, where is it? I can't find it in my article. I don't know why. The Bengals and somebody else, I forget who it is, where the Dolphins were down or up by 1 entering the fourth quarter against the Bengals, and they didn't score a point. And the Bengals scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, won the game by 13 because of it. The other game was against, I believe it was the Jets game. The Jets were up 19-17 in the fourth quarter, a very close game, 2-point game.
But who started those games? Who started that game? That wasn't Tua.
That was Teddy Bridgewater, and
and then he left on the first play, and then it was Skylar Thompson after.
Yes, Skylar Thompson. Yes. So yeah, there absolutely is context to be put, but there's also plenty of other games as well that, hey, 7 of 11 games without a point in the fourth quarter, it's not great. It's not a good stat. And yes, those 2 games, they had their backup quarterbacks in, but they also cost them games as well. Both of the games, the Jets and the Bengals, no points in the fourth quarter were the reason they lost. So essentially, as I said, the point I started with is, well, how realistic is it to think that DeMeco Ryans can do it again against this offense specifically? I don't think it's out of this world to say that it's possible. I think it could happen again. The Dolphins have done it where they haven't scored a fourth quarter point. So if you can get them to not score a fourth quarter point, I know this is really simple math, Jason. If you hold them scoreless in the third quarter as well, that's a scoreless second half. So that's kind of where it started. And yes, I know there's a lot of context behind all those numbers as well. And as always, and I explained it, but it's a trend. I don't know what it means, but it's a trend.
I'm a betting man. You know how do you say if I was a betting man? I am a betting man.
Yes.
I'm betting that the Dolphins score a point in the second half.
Probably, yeah. Like most likely than not. That's my point. Yeah, they're probably going to, but maybe they won't.
Maybe they won't. Anything's possible. Yes. And I believe in all things that are possible. with our Lord and Savior D'Amico Ryans as defensive coordinator.
I thought you were going.
I believe in I believe in all things. When, but
Okay, I thought you were going. I'm like, wow. Okay, we're doing that. Okay, Jason.
no, no, it's just all right. This game is gonna boil down to a lot of things. People are gonna say, well, Mike has a good idea of what Kyle's gonna do. Kyle has a good idea of what Mike's gonna do. I think that this game boils down to what does D'Amico and Mike do back and forth against each other, right? Like they have enough experience being there. D'Amico has been here, linebacker coach, then defensive coordinator, and this is his second year. Mike was there, run game coordinator, offensive coordinator. They start to pick up on some things, and trust me, Rich Madrid doesn't have to tell them to watch the tape. But that's, I think, where it begins and ends. Like, where Kyle has the upper hand is the Dolphins defense can be had.
Yes.
And I think what is going to be the key to this game is the 49ers offense having 8 and 10-minute drives like Kyle Shanahan fantasizes and dreams about, but they have to be punctuated with touchdowns. And you keep your defense fresh. And then the chess match begins with D'Amico. My fear, and I wrote about this on NinersNation.com. You guys should go ahead and go check this out. We had 2 X factors. I gave 2 X factors for this game. On defense, the X factor was going to be Diamador Lenore, meaning it's Jaden Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. And all right, I'm just going to say it. That's a better receiving tandem than Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk.
Can I ask a question off of this before you go too deep into your point?
Sure.
Because I was thinking, I did it off the top of my head and then I looked a little bit. When's the last time the Niners have faced a duo of receivers like this? And so off the top of my head, I had 2018 week 1 against the Vikings, Diggs and Thielen. That's off the top of my head.
I would argue last year, Cincinnati,
that's the one I was going to say as well, because then I looked at it and I was like, well, they both finished over 1,000 yards. So yeah, either whether you want to say, I guess the point is you don't face 2 receivers like this too frequently.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you combine that with what Mike McDaniel does with scheme, how well Tua's playing, how he gets them the ball, that's really what it is. You can have those 2 guys, but if you have a guy that's not executing, you have a play caller who isn't imaginative in getting them the ball. My point is Charvarius Ward stays on one side of the field. He doesn't travel. He didn't travel with DeAndre Hopkins. He stays on one side. They're just not having him just be that sort of guy, even though he can be, I believe. So how much does Mike McDaniel realize this is where we need to attack? You can still try Mooney Ward. He allows catches. It's not like he's like impenetrable. But Diamador Lenore, I think, is the key to this game. How much will Mike McDaniel try to pick on him? How can he stick with it? What does D'Amico do? Does D'Amico shade somebody over? And my point, which I wrote about in the article as well too, was this. I believe in D'Amico because of that Cincinnati Bengals game. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, by the way. Tyler Boyd.
Yes,
that's
Tyler
3.
Boyd,
That's 3 of them. What he did in Ambry Thomas's first career start was run a bunch more cover 3, shade guys over. And look, you can hold back the dam, but the levee's going to burst eventually. Jamar Chase scores in this game, right? T. Higgins almost had a touchdown right in this game. So you have to limit it. But I think that's where the chess match starts. And I think that's where I trust D'Amico a little bit more to understand what he needs to do to help the youngster out, who that's the only real question mark on this defense right now at this point, is the opposite of Mooney Ward. Everything else is solidified at this point. I guess the only other question mark is how much longer are you going to keep Jimmy Ward just there as nickel corner? But hasn't really come back to bite them just yet. But, man, like, if I'm Mike McDaniel, I try that all day. And I think honestly, at this point, it's more about my belief in D'Amico Ryans.
Yes. And I want to go back to your first point you made about Hill and Waddle being better than Samuel and Ayuk. And I think the reason I agree is just the speed, right? I don't want to make it, I'm oversimplifying it, but I don't know if you know this, Jason. The Niners and Dolphins run a pretty similar offense, you know?
No.
And the thing is with Debo Samuel and space, it's Debo running through people, having to out physical people. Same with Kittle, where Hill and Waddle have that game breaking speed where they don't have to beat anybody up to get to the end zone. They just catch, turn up field, and boop poof, they're gone. And I've always valued speed more than the physicality aspect of it, because it's easier to stay healthy if you're using speed a little more than the physicality. And you see that with Samuel. He does have, I don't know, practices where body's not feeling 100% and he misses a Friday practice, and now you're not sure how he's going to play on Sunday because you don't know if he's playing on Sunday. Oh wait, that's today. We don't know.
I was going to say, like, are we literally describing real
life?
Yeah,
that's literally today. But like, that's kind of my point, though. It's Samuel and players that are physical. Same with Kittle. It's every so often they'll have these little injuries that rear their head randomly, like today. And Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they're out there just outrunning everybody. So that's why I like them a little more than Samuel. But I'm sure if you ask somebody who's like, yeah, smash mouth football, punch him in the mouth, I'm sure they'll take Samuel and Ayuk. And I think it's a perfectly fine conversation because it's four very, very talented receivers.
Yeah, and that's kind of to my point too. Like, I know 49er fans don't want to hear it, but Hill and Waddle are a better duo than Ayuk and Sam.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Sorry. Like, and that's just one thing. That's just one thing. Okay. That's not across the board though.
No.
Kittle over Gesicki, McCaffrey over both running backs. That's why one of them was shipped off, was literally because one of them showed up. Offensive line is better for the 49ers. Trent Williams is sounding like he's going to play. If you heard Kyle Shanahan speak after he spoke to Chris Forrester, and he said he's just a big guy and that was just something that he's just working through, he should be fine. So, yeah, but at the same time, if you're concerned about any matchups, if you're concerned about how games can change and swing, and we always talk about styles make fights, it's this. It's this right here. So it's not going to be so much that Mooney's just going to be all over Hill because he doesn't travel. Hill might be on Lenore sometimes. Waddle might be over there with Lenore. That's where I get a little nervous in terms of that. And then what's the ripple effect from that?
Yes.
Do you have to shade somebody over to his side, which now opens something else up? You're moving a defender out of the middle of the field. You're moving him over to a side. Like, how do you combat this? And I think a lot of that starts and ends with the defensive line, which is going to get some reinforcements, apparently. You know, the Dolphins are down at Armstead, but the 49ers are up at Armstead.
Well, yeah, exactly. The Niners are gaining Eric Armstead, and not only are the Dolphins missing an Armstead, but they're also missing a Jackson, Austin Jackson. So they'll have both their backup tackles.
9 snaps, 6 pressures, and 6 quarterback hurries last week, Austin Jackson.
Which not great. Formerly a guard, I believe, and yes. They kicked him out to tackle, and it's weird. It's almost like it's not Madden. It's more difficult than that. The tackles for the Dolphins come Sunday. Looks like it's going to be Greg Little and Brandon Shell. And they've just not combined. Little has 27 pressures allowed this season. Shell has 21 this season. That's just the most and second most on the Miami Dolphins. So it feels like a big defensive line day. And Jason, we're talking about Hill and we're talking about Waddle. But what about the Dolphins' run game, Jason? Mike McDaniel, a very good running back coach, very good at scheming. A lot of people gave him credit for the secret sauce, Andrew. The secret sauce. Well, that secret sauce with the same running backs that Kyle Shanahan had, ranked 28th in the league in rushing yards.
Funny how don't let facts and stats get in the way of your narrative, Kyle Shanahan haters.
So listen, I don't want to make it like stop Waddle, stop Hill. You maybe stop the Dolphins' defense or offense, but it could be that, and that's why that's the focus on. We haven't even said the name Tua Tagovailoa because Tua is in a situation where this might sound like a thing with Garoppolo as well. Is his job is simply just get the ball in the hands of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
It's the same thing they're asking Garoppolo to do.
52% of the Dolphins' targets this season have gone to either Hill or Waddle. That's their offense. So I'm not even saying stop. I'm saying stop in the sense that we say stop Cooper Kupp, right, Jason? They're going to get their 100 receiving yards. Just don't let them score 2-3 times each, right? Because that's where you get in trouble. They can get as much yardage, but if you lock them down, you don't let the Dolphins score. Spoiler, where's our guy Jesse? When the Niners outscore other teams, what happens? Niners win more often than not. So realistically, man, this offense, as scary as it sounds, just contain Hill and Waddle, like Jason said. That's pretty simple, right? You're just stopping 2 players. It's pretty easy, right, Jason?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I do just think it's funny that the people that, again, are pushing this, and I hate to keep talking about the Kyle Shanahan haters, but it's so funny. Mike McDaniel was literally run game coordinator, added a wrinkle last year with the toss straight back that looks like outside zone that are really inside runs, all those things, right? Very, very instrumental in the 49ers offense down the stretch. But that running game is just not working. And it's funny how that works. It's literally the same running backs that he had over there with San Francisco. But then you start to realize, it goes back to my point, personnel has to execute scheme. Scheme can only work without personnel. That's it. It's so funny how that works, right? You have the same exact scheme. You bring it over, but you don't have the offensive lineman to get it done for you. And here's where you are. So again, there's a lot of people that want narratives to be right this week. This is your week. And you have put yourself in a corner now at this point. Dolphins fans have put themselves in a corner because they have tried to tell us that Mike McDaniel called plays and was the reason for this, and this. Okay, well, if you look blindly at the numbers, you would say 6th-ranked offense. Oh, shit, it's true. But what he was there doing was the run game, and the run game's not working with the same exact guys. And it's just funny how people lose sight of things when they just want to be right. So this week is kind of important. It's important for the Only Chance brand.
This game is so exciting, and if we talked, there's no way we would have talked about this game at the start. We didn't talk about this game circled early on in the season when we previewed the schedule. It wasn't like we had Dolphins Niners circled on the calendar, and now here we are. We're here. And obviously it helps. This isn't as fun if the Dolphins are 3-8, not 8-3, right? But these are both very good teams, and that's what's adding to it. I don't want to outstress the actual importance of this game, because when it comes to playoff positioning and tiebreaker and all that stuff, I've said it before. NFC West versus AFC East isn't moving anything. It's not going to hurt the Niners if they lose this game in terms of tiebreakers. Yes, it's going to hurt them on a loss. But this game, the fact that they didn't flex this game into a primetime slot is interesting. And yes, I understand the Cowboys are on the Sunday night game, and that makes it a little tougher. Can't get rid of the star. And I understand that. I get it. It's the way football works. But this feels like and this is also a weekend that has the Bengals versus the Chiefs. And it feels like that the Niners Dolphins is the marquee game of the weekend, because of all the things on the side here.
This is probably the best game of the year in terms of storylines, in terms of juice now, because of the immovable, like Steph said on Bully Ball. She's in here too. Look, and this is what she has to say. I get to see Andrew on Sunday, and I'm so excited. And I'm jealous.
Hanging out with Steph.
I hope it rains a ton.
It probably will. I'm not looking forward to it, honestly.
But what Steph said was perfect. The unstoppable force against the immovable object. And make sure you guys are subscribed to Niners Nation Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcast, so you can hear more gems like that from Steph. But yeah, this game has the most juice. Yes. It just really does. And it has much more star power, the coaching thing, all of those things. So yeah, the NFL, you can't get rid of the star, but they really made a mistake not making this a primetime game.
Yeah, no, this screams primetime game. This is why you flex games. This is really the marquee game of the weekend. Jason, are we ready to get to everybody's favorite segment?
Hoops.
So this is the list I have. I ran through the Dolphins roster. I ran through the Dolphins coaching staff, and I ran through the Dolphins.
That's something I forgot as well.
Can I, by the way, point out, and I'll pull it up because I closed it. The Miami Dolphins executive staff is very interesting, and I'm trying to find it really quick. But anyways, the list I have for Hoops revenge game is it. I have Trent Sherfield.
Yep.
I have Jeff Wilson.
Yep.
Raheem Mostert, River Craycraft, and Salvin Ahmed.
Oh, forgot about
Remember
that.
him first? Remember he was a practice squad guy that Niner fans really, really wanted. And then for the coaching staff, I have Mike McDaniel. I have Wes Welker, their wide receiver coach, and offensive assistant Mike Person, according to the Dolphins website. So
Very nice.
Those are the names I have. I have the list of Dolphins executives. So they have Stephen M. Ross, they have Bruce Beal, Tom Garfinkel, Jorge Perez, and then we go sideways. Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Mark Anthony, and Fergie are all partners in the Dolphins ownership
What on
group.
earth is going on here?
It's a really funny looking group of people just because it's all the like real football people and then just celebrities.
Can I add, because there's some 49ers that want to get revenge on the Dolphins?
Yeah, absolutely. I only looked at the Dolphins side. I was hoping you would get the Niners side, and I'm excited.
Jake Brendel wants revenge on his Miami Dolphins. Chris Forrester, former offensive line coach for the Miami Dolphins as well too. And you want to pull this up real quick?
So here's the Dolphins.
We have the weird
they're
calling it a lie real quick. I gotta get rid of the overlay.
Yeah, hang on, guys. We gotta get rid of this. This is great audio podcast.
This is great podcast.
So here, this is the Dolphins. There's Tua peeking behind a football. Stephen Ross, Bruce Beal, Tom Garfinkel, Jorge Perez, and then Fergie, Mark Anthony, Serena Williams, and Venus Williams.
That is insane.
I was so like thrown off. I was like, why is that's Fergie. I'm sure they're all like look at our king, Mike McDaniel there, but we're just cruising the Dolphins website here on the Sprint Right Option podcast. Here, I'll take that away. But yeah, there you go. There's the executives. Anyways, you want to get the Niners former Dolphin players?
Jake Brendel, Chris Forrester, the person whose real revenge game this is. And this game is for him. They might as well wear a patch with his number on it and put it on their jersey. You got to put 48 on your jersey. This one's for Brian Allen. This one is for Brian Allen. We are not letting this slide anymore. You know what's funny? Is there certain 49ers names that you just need to say their name and it triggers the entire fan base. It triggers them. And Brian Allen is one of them.
It's just so funny too because we're mad at a cameo. That was his only game with the Niners, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was forced into duty because Ahkello Witherspoon was injured in that game.
Yes, injured.
He played at the end.
He did play at the end once the game was over. Was Brian Allen was that his only game with? Now I'm curious. That was his only game with the Niners, wasn't it? He got absolutely cooked.
This one, this one is for Brian Allen. This one is personal. I want to write an article like Miami Dolphins versus 49ers. This time it's personal. Brian Allen's revenge.
I should have thought of it and should have got a Brian Allen uniform. I'm wearing my Fred Warner uniform, but God, one game for the Niners. That's wow. That's amazing.
2020 was just such a like throw it out year. It was so weird, right? Nobody was ever in the stands. The 49ers were like completely injured, whatever. And it wasn't funny then, but we can laugh now. Like we can laugh about it now. Like it's just one of those footnote games where it's like if I say a certain name, you get triggered and you know exactly what game we're talking about. Like if I say Kyle Williams, you know NFC Championship game. If I say Brian Allen, you know Dolphins game. If I say, another player, like somebody who like misses a kick or something,
I didn't expect Kyle Williams and Brian Allen to be in the same sentence today, but hey, you never know what's going to happen on this Right Option podcast. 43-17 last time the Niners played the Dolphins. Absolutely 22 for 28 for 353 touchdowns, no interceptions for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fitz was cooking. Fitz was playing. Cooking. Where's Waldo? And he looked around and he was like, 48's over there.
Do you remember the receiver who cooked the Niners that game?
Preston Williams.
I honestly blacked this game out, man.
Good for you, man.
I 1,000% forgot about this.
I like to remember games like that. And the reason I do is because they're so random and they're one-offs. And it's just something that it wasn't something that is like a trend for the 49ers. It's just one of those weird games. 2020 was the weirdest football season in the history of the game.
Look how far these two teams, I guess not real. I was going to say, look how far these two teams have come. When they met in 2020, the Niners finished 6-10. The Dolphins finished 10-6 and actually missed the playoffs. So I guess you can't say, because they had a pretty good year that year in 2020.
Yeah, remember too, Brian Flores was forced to play Tua, didn't want to, went back to Fitzpatrick. It was just a whole to-do.
And then they had the weird closer situation where Tua would start and then Fitzpatrick would come in and finish. We're talking Dolphins here on the Sprint Right Option podcast. Just talking Dolphins here. You want to talk about Mercury Morris and the 72 team? Like,
you want to talk about Ray Finkel as we see in our and please, Andrew, please tell me you get that reference.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Okay.
Sorry.
Finkel is Einhorn.
Okay, never mind. I thought Mayoka just tweeted something, heads up for 49er fans heading to Seattle, so I wasn't sure something changed, but nothing happened.
No.
So
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Yeah, that's the, I'm glad that you get that reference.
Yes, I do. I absolutely do, Jason. I don't know. I feel like we've covered everything.
We have covered everything.
We officially got to the point where we were on the Dolphins website looking at their executives. I don't know. Is this the time where we make our final score predictions?
40 minutes.
You want to touch on before we get there?
No, 40 minutes in. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got over 100 people in here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to the Sprint Right Option podcast wherever you get your audio podcasts. And yeah, this is going to be a fun game, man. I am emotionally invested, not only because I'm a 49ers fan, but I'm emotionally invested because I want Andrew Pasquini to walk out and eat a W.
I've never seen the Niners win. That's a stat. 0-1, small sample size.
0-1, small sample size. So trends are trends until they're not.
And well, you want to know something really scary? Actually, with the Warriors, I had the same sort of streak where I'd never seen the Warriors win a game. They were something like 0-7 in my lifetime. And my ex-girlfriend's parents bought me one ticket to Game 5 of the 2016 Western Conference Finals against the Thunder when the Warriors were down 3-1. And I was like, if they lose, this is on me. They won 73 games. Then it was only one game, Wanda. I am sorry that the one Niner game I have been to, Mike Nolan had to start Alex Smith again. I'm sorry that I had to see the Niners play the Colts in 2005. That's not my fault.
She didn't even say, hey, maybe things will change. She literally told you just stay away from the game, Wanda.
Listen, I'm sorry. I saw a terrible Niners team face an all-time Colts team. That's on me. That's on me. Hand up. If the Niners lose, all right. Look.
I will
come back on Monday and take the blame.
If it makes you feel better, I've been to one 49ers game at Levi Stadium, and they lost that one as well. It was the Sunday Night Football game last year against the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. So. If you want to put blame on me as well, but that's why I don't go back to the stadium. I've seen them win here in MetLife. I saw them win in Philly. I saw them win in Philly. I saw them win in. Oh wait, I went to the NFC title game. That's it. I'm not going to any more games anymore at this point.
Niners aren't going to lose. I promise, Wanda. Niners will win this game by a final.
Said it was one game, Wanda.
It was one game. I'm sorry. They're 0-1 in my lifetime. Mike Shanahan might have still been a head coach. It was Candlestick. I've never seen the inside of Levi Stadium. But 30-24, 49ers win.
Oh, I got the 49ers 27-20 in this one. I do think that the offense does enough 8 and 7 drives, finish them off with touchdowns and keep that team off the field. I do think that a lot of people, while they are enamored with the season that Tyreek Hill's having, their potent offense, they're forgetting that there's a very good defense on the other side that is capable of slowing them down. And I think Kyle Shanahan is just kind of shaking his head and just hoping that this is not hoping. He's trying to get this one done because he does like to beat his proteges. And I think that that's where he's at with it right now. But any other week, man, Mike McDaniel, we'd root for you. Any other week, man. The short 2 minutes I got a chance to talk with him at the combine is probably my favorite moment of being at the combine. Not asking John Lynch a question, not talking to so many other GMs in front of it was him. Because if you believe that what's going on is an act with his press conferences, if you believe that this is something, it's not, man. He was generous to me and Jordan with his time. Said, listen, you guys have always treated me well. I asked him the stupidest question about what's his favorite Mike Jones song. He answered it immediately, so he definitely wasn't making that up. So, look, Coach, we love you, man. Just this week, you can't get it done this week. That's it.
And we know you're watching. If you ever want to jump on the podcast, talk Metro Boomin with us. We're both huge fans of Metro Boomin.
I guarantee you Mike McDaniel listens to the Metro Boomin.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was probably watching game tape with it on in the background. You know, if listen, I know he's watching. If you ever want to jump on, we will gladly we won't even ask football questions. Like we'll just talk whatever, life.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if George Kittle ever came on, we just talk wrestling. Like, we won't even ask football. Who cares about football if George Kittle comes on, right? So what I say, 30 to 24. Yeah, I'll be there. It'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going down with Tim and Brian. They're picking me up. We're driving through.
If you are at the game and you see a beard and hair,
don't be
you
afraid
better walk up and say hi.
Don't be afraid to say hi. I don't buy it. I'm socially awkward. That's okay. I'll say hi.
Sin, you make sure you send this man a message.
If I don't get a message from Sin, I will be messaging her because that's the one that I'm like, I need to meet her because that's what I'm excited for. BNA, I love you. I love BNA.
I mean, I'm sure he listened to her loss. I mean, everybody in the world did. Everybody's Spotify rap has Drake at like number 1 on their list. Insane, man.
Did you see my Apple Music list? It's about
Apple actually is cleaner with theirs, but go for it.
I like so my top 3 artists were Gorillaz, Doja Cat, and Bad Bunny. Number 4 was a guy who I cropped out on purpose because he may or may not have gone on a radio show yesterday and said a lot of wild things. So he got cropped off, and I don't talk about it. But yeah, so those were my 3 artists of 2022: Gorillaz, Doja, and Bad Bunny.
Well, Andrew, as I alluded to earlier, I use Tidal as my music provider. As I alluded to earlier, I'm a father, and my Tidal thing came up for the year. And you know what's funny?
Oh, I know where this is going.
You know what's funny? I haven't listened to these songs in the longest time ever. But my most listened to songs are Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Bangers.
And it's by a group called They Could Be Giants.
Yeah, the kid. Oh, that's actually like a real band though. They're not just.
No, they are. Yeah. They are. They're the ones, but they do the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse soundtrack. So use my face as the face of a man who is washed, because I haven't listened to that music at all this entire year, and yet somehow I've listened to so many songs over and over that is still my most listened to song. This man in front of you that you're looking at with the Wu-Tang sweater, with the kid stuff behind him, is washed. I'm
seeing so many of my friends who have kids post their like Spotify and all that stuff, and it's, the Wiggles or whatever. And it's gotten me to a point where I think when I have a kid, I don't want the kid messing up my algorithm. I think my kid's going to have a separate spot. They could have their own separate Spotify. I'll pay for 2 accounts just to keep that Spotify wrapped clean.
We'll see. I'm skeptical because everything when you have a kid costs. Everything, air, everything.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm vastly underestimating how expensive
look, I don't want to say that, but I think you are vastly underestimating.
I think I am.
Again, kids are so expensive. Rihanna's coming back on tour and wants to put out music. That is exactly all you need to know.
We've officially gone sideways.
Off the rails. That's it.
Also, BNA, I did not expect to see a Dance Gavin Dance reference in the chat today, but yes, 916 stand up. I haven't dove in too much on Dance Gavin Dance. I know I need to. One of my better friends, he listens to Dance Gavin Dance quite a bit. He's trying to get me into it. So I did not expect to see that here today. Jason.
BNA cooking Dolphins fans too, man. These Dolphins fans are crazy, man.
Dolphins fans, man. Hopefully they weren't here today. I was a little sad. I was hoping to get a couple.
Yeah, what happened? We have Bears fans. We have Jets fans. We didn't get the Dolphins fans. They travel.
Don't tell Niner fans this, but like Dolphins fans, I'm definitely a member of 2 and On. Like I'm a big 2 and On guy. Well, I think Tua is a guy.
I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast with Andrew Pasquini. It's his last. Andrew Pasquini, as always.
Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Enjoy the game, Andrew.
Oh, it'll be fun. I'm very much looking forward. Come say hi to me if you see me.
For sure. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go.